Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. In this Warcraft Rumble guide, I'm going to take a look at Onyxia, now after the big balance patch where more than 20 minis were changed, and I'm going to showcase a new army against Onyxia that's based on Ragnaros and Molten Giant. As for Onyxia herself, her army consists of Drake, Gargoyle, Griffin Rider, Necromancer, Spiderlings and Warsong Grunts. Onyxia, there's currently only a normal version of Onyxia available, so none of these minis have talents. But some of them have gotten buffs recently. Spiderlings were buffed to move a lot faster a little over a month ago, and the latest buff is to Warsong Grunts, which now have a little bit more damage, although that buff doesn't really do much. Onyxia has 18,000 health as level 1 stat, 375 elemental damage again as level 1 stat, and range of 12, meaning that only a meat wagon with range talent can outrange Onyxia. The Onyxia fight consists of 3 phases. In the first phase, there will be groups of Whelpex that will spawn on both the left and the right lane. They will spawn first at 540 remaining and then every 90 seconds. So at 410, 240, 110, 140 and 010 in overtime. After the X have spawned, they will automatically pop after 30 seconds and then a huge army of whelps are going to come towards your base. That can sometimes be useful depending on what you're using to counter these X, because sometimes you want to let them pop and then you just have some AoE that can handle all the whelps. Onyxia's golding of phase 1 is pretty low, it's only 0.2 gold per second, so this phase is a bit of a warm up. Once you initiate phase 2 is when the real action starts. Onyxia wipes the top part of the map, including the top towers, and it knocks back your minis. Some of them might be knocked back so that they avoid the death ray, because first there's going to be a knockback and then there's going to be a breath that insta-kills everything. So sometimes when you're right at the edge of that breath area, then knockback actually saves your minis and they live to fight a little bit more. But the top towers will be lost. Onyxia also gains resist at the start of phase 2, and Onyxia summons 4 earth elementals. Onyxia is going to keep summoning 4 earth elementals every 50 seconds from here until the end of the fight. The Whelpex spawns also continue, so now you have the Whelpex spawns, and you have the earth elementals, and then you have Onyxia's own army. And Onyxia also gains more gold income, it's increased to 0.3 gold per second, so more units start to spawn. And if that was not bad enough, things are going to get worse in phase 3. Again, there's going to be the same wipe at the top part of the map. The top towers are going to go down. Onyxia also gains armor. So now in phase 3, Onyxia has both armor and resist. So Onyxia takes a lot less damage. Also, Onyxia summons 2 powerful warders at the start of phase 3. The warders have 2800 health, they have resist, they have 9 range, and they deal 120 elemental damage AoE every 1.4 seconds. So they have pretty decent DPS as well. And the Earth Elemental and Wealth spawns continue. At least the warders are only one time summoned, they don't come back again. But Onyxia's gold income is also increased at the start of phase 3. It's going to be 0.4 gold per second. So in phase 3, finally, Onyxia is getting more gold than you are. There are multiple ways to beat Onyxia. The Dragisat video that I have of Onyxia is still perfectly valid. The Anub'arak video is no longer valid because Anub'arak has been nerfed so hard that just doesn't work. But the Dragisat plan still works, so Dragisat is still a great way to beat Onyxia. But this video is going to be about Ragnaros and Molten Giants. So with this plan, you're going to want the map control on phase 1. Well, we want that with whole plans. And here we don't have any static defenses, we don't have any rhyme skeletons or anything, so you want to save a little bit of gold for the phase change. Ideally you want to have a push coming that's just outside of the board wipe, and then that push is going to start attacking towers, and you would want that for both phase changes, ideally. When phase 2 begins, you want to retake the towers, and then you want to set up a push and a follow-up push that will avoid the board clear at the top. So again, in phase 2, you're going to push Onyxia, and then you would want to have some minis that will survive, and then you also have some gold so that you can really reinforce, so that you can put a lot of pressure on phase changes. Try to start phase 3 before overtime when you're doing it with Molten Giants, because Molten Giants require some time, they don't have a whole lot of DPS. In phase 3, defeat the warders with Molten Giants, and with priestesses with healing, you can actually just beat the warders. So you want to defeat both warders. Ideally, you want to separate them. You want to fight one at one tower and another on the other side. You don't want them to be able to converge in the center tower, and then you would have to fight both at the same time. That would be pretty bad, because then they have a lot of DPS. But you want to defeat those warders, you want to regain control of the top towers, and then you want to push from both sides, so that Onyxia has to alternate which side she attacks. That generally you want to do with Molten Giant strategy anyway. push with Molten Giant from the left tower and Molten Giant from the right tower, and then you just able to converge on Onyxia, and then she will hit left, right, so that neither of the Molten Giants takes as much damage at the same time. And I have been testing this quite extensively after the balance patch, and I believe this is the best possible army that you can set up for Ragnaros to take on Onyxia. So I have Ragnaros itself, then I have a Pyromancer with Conflagrate. Conflagrate so that Pyromancer's explosions hit something like Necromancers at the back. That's quite important. Then I have Defies Bandits with Picklock. Picklock, another important talent here, because I want them to be able to open the chests and give me additional gold. Then I have Witch Doctor with Spirit Ward. You really need that Spirit Ward so that Witch Doctor can take on the Whelpex and survive. Nowadays the requirement for Witch Doctor went up by 1 level because Witch Doctor got a nerf in the balance patch. So you need to be level 25 in order to take the right side, and you need to be level 26 in order to take the left side. Of course, here my Witch Doctor is 28, so I can just drop it wherever and it's just going to be fine. Then I have Griffin Rider with Airdrop. So Griffin Rider is going to give Ragnaros levels. That's capped now to plus 10 levels, but I can still make Ragnaros a level 35, and level 35 Ragnaros is perfectly capable of defending itself against some Earth Elementals and like. Then I have a Priestess. Priestess with the Empowered Renew talent. That's important, because Empowered Renew is the only healing that is unmitigated when it goes to Ragnaros. Ragnaros has healing reduction against everything else, but with Empowered Renew, you still heal Ragnaros for the full 10%. And you also heal your Molten Giant for the full 10%, which is pretty sweet. And finally, there's the Molten Giant itself. And the best talent for this for Molten Giant is now Bolster. Bolster heals the Molten Giant when it takes a tower, and that's nice, but what you really want is that gold. Because you're often going into positions where there's something like a gargoyle, and then there's a bit of a tower limbo, and the Molten Giant takes the tower a couple of times, and that's just gold, gold, gold. I unfortunately did not have Bolster, because Bolster didn't used to be that good before the buff, so I had a rare Molten Giant with the other 2 talents. I did try it out somewhat, and I can say that a level 28 Molten Giant with Blood of the Mountain can do this. It is possible, but it's just so much harder than with Bolster, and obviously levels always help. So 28 with any talent can do it. 28 with Bolster, it's quite alright. Well, 30 with Bolster, and it's already so much easier. And yeah, so the plan here is to have Ragnaros defend, Molten Giant attack, and let's go take a look at what it looks like in action. So here we go, Onyxia with Ragnaros and Molten Giants. And I had practiced this already quite a few times using level 28 Molten Giant with the Blood of the Mountain talent. And then now I have recently this is literally the second pull that I do with the Bolster talent and a level 30 Mountain Giant. So what's going to happen here is that my timings are always going to be off. And, well, Bolster is just so good that it doesn't matter. So here I'm going to start attacking in the middle a little bit, try to get some damage in, try to get some towers in there. Bolster already giving me some gold, and my Witch Doctor clearing out some of those whelps. If I want to clear the right side and my Witch Doctor is a little lower level, then I have to place it close to the middle. So it would have to start from the middle part, close to the middle and up top from the deployment zone. But with 28 it doesn't matter where it starts from. And I just don't like the middle placement that much, because then if something else is going on in the middle, it can get a little bit distracted. But that's what you have to do if your Witch Doctor is lower level. So here I have 2 Molten Giants. I wanted to push with 2 Molten Giants. And my plan here, because when I did this with 28, I needed 2 Molten Giants at Onyxia, plus then 1 Molten Giant at Onyxia a little bit later. So here my idea is that those 2 Molten Giants are going to get Onyxia close to phase 2, and then the 1 Molten Giant that I sent from my base, that is the one that I'm planning to use to get Onyxia to phase 2. However, now that my Molten Giant has 2 levels more, then that resulted in a surprising effect, which is that, oopsie daisy, we're going to get a phase change. I haven't realized that yet. I'm still like, okay, I can send these and they will still be fine. And then there's going to be, oh my goodness, a phase change, and I was so not prepared. So if you do it with 28s, you are going to need 3 Molten Giants overall in order to get Onyxia to this phase. If you do it with level 30, 2 Molten Giants are going to be enough. And at phase 2 now Onyxia has gained resist, but Onyxia has not gained armor. So another 2 Molten Giants will push Onyxia to phase 3. And then it depends on what else you have, on how soon you want to do that push. But generally, on the last phase, when Onyxia is going to get armor, then your DPS is just going to be a little bit lower, and you are going to need some time, so you probably need to push a little bit before overtime. Regardless, because I definitely also ran out of time when I was doing this with 28s sometimes. There we go, trying to defend, and defending with the pyromancers and with the witch doctors is quite important. Also always trying to get those chests with the defiance bandits whenever I can. Trying to set up some of those defenses. No static defenses here, so I actually have to respond to the earth elementals even when they're coming at the top. But at the bottom, as you can see, I have Ragnaros. Ragnaros is now, well, what was it, 31, and it's already doing fine. So Ragnaros does not worry. And here we have another push going, and now I have 2 Molten Giants. Here, because I hadn't practiced with level 30s yet, I think that I'm going to need 1 more Molten Giant to push the phase. And my plan is that this Molten Giant that I'm sending here now, that's going to be my 2 + 1, the 3rd Molten Giant that's going to push Onyxia to the next phase. And that's where I built my timings, but yeah, that didn't quite happen now because Molten Giant had a couple of more levels. So everything does depend on your levels. Also in the way that when you build up your timings, then what are your levels going to be? What are your timings going to be? But Ragnaros, as you can see, Ragnaros does phenomenal job defending. Ragnaros can also defend to an extent against the whelps. Like Ragnaros can just kill all sorts of stuff. And now I was a little bit surprised by that. Whoopsie, I got to phase 3. And I had not planned that. So obviously for phase 3 I would have wanted there to be 1 Molten Giant that would be around the middle tower when phase 3 begins, so they would keep walking up there, and I would send a 2nd Molten Giant to accompany it alongside Pyromancers and Priestesses. Witch Doctor is less important. Pyromancer and Priestess are good. They will stay outside of the range of those warders, so they will survive and they will contribute damage. But here, obviously, I was woefully unprepared. So now I have to scramble a little bit. But I did manage to keep the warders separate. If the warders are allowed to converge at the center tower, then you're going to be in real trouble. Because then both of them are going to keep shooting and they have AoE attacks, so then the damage output is just too much. But here, fighting against 1 warder on one side, other warder on the other side, just helped me out so much. And Ragnaros, as you can see, now it's a level 35 Ragnaros. That's going to be the cap now, plus 10 levels, no more. It still takes some damage from the gargoyle, and sometimes you need to drop a Priestess to heal it up. Priestess's Empowered Renew heals it once for 10%. As you can see now, it's going to come, but only once per Priestess. Alright, so I got into phase 3 very, very early. Much too early. And as a consequence, I had some difficulty stabilizing here, but I am now stabilizing, which means that there's still plenty of time. It's not even overtime yet. So if I manage to stabilize from here, then I can just push and I can still just win this. And Bolster is doing so much work, like Molten Giant just taking tower, giving me gold. Now it's overtime. Alright, I have 2 minutes left, and I have a Molten Giant going up the right lane. So that Molten Giant hopefully is going to be able to grab the tower from me there, and this Molten Giant grabs the left tower, and then I'll just attack from both sides. And I have that level 35 Ragnaros, and look at the level 35 Ragnaros. Look at the damage the Earth Elemental deals to it. That's insignificant. Gargoyle can still be a little bit more of a threat, but Earth Elemental just doesn't have the chops. It just cannot do it. Ragnaros is fine, and I can always drop some Priestesses out there to heal Ragnaros if I believe it's necessary. So I really want to get this tower up, and now I managed to do that so I can send Molten Giants from this side. Because Onyxia will try to alternate the side that she hits. So now of course I have 3 Molten Giants on one side, but Onyxia is going to swipe at all 3 at the same time. And that's not fun. If I can get Molten Giants from the other side, I can halve the damage that my other side is taking. So all I need to get is that Molten Giant would just need to reach Onyxia. So go, 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 go. All right, now we got, this is the situation we want to be in. So as you can see now, Onyxia is going to alternate one side, then the other, and one side, and the other. And that means that the overall damage output is lower. Oh, overall damage output is kind of same, but I mean, your minis die slower because the minis don't take all of the hits. And wow, Molten Giants whacked Onyxia to death. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.